All right, welcome. Hello, my name is Alexander Wales. What are we doing today? Um, this is Exclusions Docs, stream number, I want to say 9. Uh, this is Exclusions for Worth the Candle, basic zones of adventures. If you haven't read Worth the Candle, you probably don't want to be here. But maybe you do. There's probably not going to be much in the way of spoilers. All right, yesterday did um, we did the demiplane exclusion zone and the rest of Spect, or the rest of the Dibble exclusion zone, I guess. Starting word count is yes, 13,100. Yeah, I'll just leave that there for now. So Bluefield is going to be first. I think this will be a pretty short entry. Bluefields is notably like one of the first exclusions mentioned in Worth the Candle. And I did put I did make a timeline doc that I could just go straight to be slightly less jank about it. Bluefields mentioned here. Mentioned here as like one of the first exclusion zones. This is very very early in the story. I think this is the first half of what is now book one. And it's just a place where it's the only place in the world where nuclear weapons work. Looking at timeline, this needs to be pretty late. My general rule for like the present day of 527 is that technology is late 1940s at the latest. Chemistry quite a bit behind other fields and stuff like that. So nuclear weapons are at like the leading edge of what is possible. So we're gonna say this is like post. We're gonna say this is post radio, I guess. 426. And what is interesting about this exclusion, other than the fact that it's something that we have on Earth, this will be like a deliberate exclusion. Like nuclear weapons were used with the full knowledge that it would almost certainly be excluded, and they were used in an area that people were okay with making into an exclusion zone. So and like I said, this will be short. This will be like 500 words, I'm guessing, which means half an hour total of typing. Is that right? Sorry, I'm gonna pull up a calculator real quick and make sure that my word per minute is not super low on this. That would be 17 words per minute. That is somewhat low. For me. 30 words per minute is how fast I can go if I'm doing something very fast and easy. All right. While active testing and deployment. Let me mute my computer real quick. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Anything you missed? No. This is just blue fields. Yeah, the blue field is odd in that it's an excluded real phenomenon, um, which is one of the things that I think I like most about it. Like in terms of it being an entry on the exclusion stock, that it's like the only one, or I guess possibly one of the only ones on there. Like obviously gray goo, uh, or I guess any variety of goo would be excluded as well, but I don't think that's anywhere on the list. So, okay. Could there be a void exclusion? It's like of plot importance that there is not a void exclusion. Like if you could exclude void, then you'd solve a problem, which is not meant to be solved in that way. If you can just exclude your way out of problems, that's um, I mean, there's story stuff you can do with that, but I personally don't like it. So the government mandated borders of the zone. Okay, I don't know why this looks like a weird sentence to me. Um, okay, government mandated. Wouldn't magic be an equally real effect? Yes. Yeah, this will not distinguish between. I mean, they do have ways of distinguishing because of how wording works and the ways that the the ways that it exists, like magic tends to exist within a magical spectra. So you can see that nuclear explosions are not magic in that way, but um, the distinction in used in Work the Candle is uh, tends to treat magic as not being as being a scientific thing, I guess. They're magical materials and creatures that don't show anything under warder vision, right? Well, I mean, you would need to define magical. In Word the Candle, there are, I think, 3 different definitions of magical. There's like a lay definition, where it's like anything unnatural in some way. There's a like technical definition that warders use, which excludes some things that are in the lay definitions, and I think there was a third one, but so like oh right, and then there's pseudo magic, which is its own different thing. They would probably think it's all the same type of thing. No, I mean because they're like like so the idea is that you have a standard model, right? Like or you have scientists who are in this world and they're working on this thing and they get some understanding of base physics without the magic stuff added on. So you can have this model of how the world would work if it didn't have like fire magic in it. So when you're a scientist and you're developing these theories about how fire works, um, it's sort of like like Newtonian physics, where you can figure out all the stuff that works in like 99% of cases, and then you have that extra 1% that you need more complicated stuff to reconcile a bunch of things that you see. But people would still develop the Newtonian version. Anyway, that's one of the ways that I think about it. I gotta focus more on writing this, but the like what is magic and what is not is one of those base questions that has like 5 answers within the universe, right? Like how do you determine that? They would take okay. So if you have a creature that should not be able to fly, well, it's like one of those things where now I gotta look up the bumblebee thing. In modern, like the way scientists do it now, we don't always understand the exact mechanics by which things happen. For a better example, there's this guy on YouTube, Stephen Mold, who is there's a phenomenon that happens when you have like a coiled chain inside like a beaker. And like it comes out, and then physicists can argue with themselves even now about the exact mechanism of what's happening there within the rules that we know. And right, like I don't like that phrasing, like something that clearly should be magic, right? Like that's not what you would use in universe. You wouldn't say, oh, like obviously that's magic. I mean, you could make that argument, but that's not like a substantiated thing. You would need to prove that something is going on there, right? Like you can't just say, oh, like this should be magic, so we're going to exclude it from our understanding. I don't think there is a name for. I guess we just call it the second Inter-Imperium. And this entry will need to include something about the fact that, like, you can look at uranium, and uranium does not appear to a warder to be magical. There's also a better name for uranium. Okay, I thought there was another name for uranium. Is it too far off topic to talk about specifically how they treat all the non-magical stuff? Yes, it would take like half an hour, um, and this is largely not about that. And also, it's like, I don't know, it's like I try to be at least somewhat good about having alternate, like, constructs of science, right? Like, how does science develop in a world that has different physics and stuff? That, like, because that's an interesting thing, but it's also not, it's not core to the plot of the story, and it's definitely not core to this. Um, all right, I don't like this. No, not 503, 403. How long did Manhattan Project take? Okay, we'll just do more like 416. A Loch Ness Monster Entad. Well, GPT-3 is not there. GPT-4 will be better. I do feel like any day, like, within the next couple of years, it's very possible that someone will come out with a large language model thing that'll just, like, completely destroy the ability to, like, have distinctive writing. I'm somewhat a pessimist on it, but the field's advancing really quick, so you might get your wish in like a couple of years from now. It'll probably be super expensive, but just because of the way that compute costs are scaling, but you might have it. Wouldn't they only know it was excluded when they tried to detonate the second one? Um, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll delete a bunch of this. That is a very fair and valid point. Um, shouldn't it only get excluded once it's... No. Exclusion can happen for a number of reasons. Um, which hopefully this entire document will make clear, but sometimes exclusion happens as soon as a degenerate thing is even found and before it's used. Um, and part of the reason for this project, like part of the reason that you would embark on this project, is so that no one can use a first use of a nuclear weapon that then becomes the last use of a nuclear weapon. Nebesnik. Yeah, I could use that. So far I've not used the word uranium at all. If they dropped the very first bomb on somewhere populated, would it have worked? Yes. Yes. Which is part of why they did it out in the middle of nowhere. Like this is a deliberate attempt. This is a deliberate attempt to make sure that nuclear weapons would not be used on a city or a major population center, I guess. Here, I'll just put that right here. No. Am I planning on making any sub emotes? I'll look into it later. I don't really want to be a Twitch streamer as like a thing, but I will be doing this for another month, so it would make sense to spend like 10 minutes of my time doing that. This stream gets like at most 20 viewers, so it's not a huge priority for me. This is the very, very low end of Twitch, which is fully expected for pursuing writing. Did this exclusion also exclude the possibility of nuclear power production? No. But in Worth the Candle, nuclear power is just outclassed by other forms of power. Could a good enough rune mage tank a nuclear explosion? I think that's in the Apocrypha. Let me see. But I am pretty sure that was going to be a plot point in the story, and then I decided it was dumb and didn't do it. Not that it was dumb, but like that there were problems with it. Yep, it is probably somewhere in one of these files. No, having a rune mage. No, yeah. So you'll have to find that on your own. Okay, and I'm gonna make one attempt to search for it. I'll see if I can find the link. Yeah. So here is a link. This is a drive folder that has all the stuff I didn't end up using in the story, and I'm pretty sure that there is in one of those there's a nuclear weapons one. It's probably in one of the later scrap files or in an alternate version of something, but it is like they use they in story, we're going to use a nuclear weapon to no, I mean they like that. That's it, it. It was a discarded idea that they used rune magic to turn all the energy of a nuclear explosion into matter, and they the matter that they turn it into is antimatter, and then they contain that, and then they take the antimatter out of the zone and use that against Felseed. Maybe that does happen in story. You know what? I'd have to double check, but the short answer is yes. You can use rune magic, sufficiently advanced rune magic to tank a nuclear explosion. But you have to like be properly set up for it, and there's a lot of reasons not to ever try that. Yeah, I don't remember what they used to make antimatter in the story, but I remember I switched it because I thought that the using blue fields was just it was good to bring it back into the story, but it didn't get used. I don't think. I think what it is that you just don't need the nuclear explosion if you're going to use rune magic. Extremium is such a great name. Okay. There was some interest. Oh, so I asked, or I talked to Quill, who is our GPT bot, and there was actually a good idea from it for once, which was that like you have like a bunch of mutated plants and stuff. Not in the sense of like Fallout, because I think that's I find that a little silly, but you definitely do see stuff like that in real exclusion zones. Um, mundane mutations to survive irradiation. Well, no, like, um, because of the, did I spell that wrong? Okay. Yeah, so like, there's a higher rate of mutation near Fukushima and Chernobyl. Um, a higher rate of mutation because of the irradiation. So you get stuff like this. Um, there was a okay, we're just gonna be done with this for now. There is probably more, but this is fine to be a short one, 500 words or so. And this is listed as major because of the radiation. Okay, that's fine. Bowdler is, I think, mentioned once in passing. Okay. I really like this Mary's notes section because it's like so indecipherable. This must be the only mention of Bowdler then. I'll just double check. And I'll check here. Any magical life forms? I don't know. Worth Candle is short on magical life forms as it stands now. I think that it is under redaction. Okay. No notes from Bacon Time. That is great. Well, it's not great, but... Okay. I think this one's First Empire. And this is one, the Internecian Wars. We'll say that this is slightly before that. We'll say this is 79 FE. Yeah, so the actual guy is Thomas Bowdler. So we're gonna briefly, or I'm gonna briefly read this, which I probably should have done before the stream, but the expurgation. Oh man, that's a great word. So save that for later. This is part of the creative process that you get to see. The family Shakespeare. So we are, or I'm largely following this for like the idea was this that it's not someone who's like trying to gain a lot of power or anything like that. Um, it is that it's someone who wanted to like sanitize things and like saw the saw this act of Baudelarization as like protecting people, sort of like a nanny state thing. Just like stripping ideas out of like inappropriate ideas out of the world. He would be a progressive in the old sense of the word. Um, there's a ton of stuff in here that I do not care about. Devoted himself to the cause of prison reform. Um, okay, so this guy did not have a lot going on. It is sometimes weird to me how much effort goes into a Wikipedia article about stuff that like I cannot imagine people caring about. I guess that's Wikipedia for you. I guess some people do care, but uh, this is interesting to me. Bowdler's commitment not to augment or add to Shakespeare's text, merely remove sensitive material, contrasted with earlier practice. Um, okay, yeah, that's fine. I don't feel like I gleaned a ton from that, but yeah, fix. Very early fix. Um, okay. Okay, need a section on like what, because I believe that this is, yes, this is like has an associated magic. Let me check if, I believe there are reference. Okay, been streaming for 50 minutes. Yeah, Arb is light on magical creatures. But also, like, a magical creature, in theory, is not designed broken. Yes, Publican is technically a magical creature exclusion zone. Um, there are a couple coming up on the exclusions list, though. I think. The problem with magical creatures, for Worth the Candle, was that I had bone magic, and I just really didn't want to keep track of that many, like, different magical bones. So, I, like, in theory, there, like, based on everything else about the setting, there should have been, like, thousands of magical creatures, because that's like a D&D thing, right? That you you have these enormous monster manuals with tons and tons of stuff in there. I knew I was going to burn out if I, like, real fast, if I had to track all that stuff. But so there are a number of magical creatures mentioned, but there's, I think, fewer than ideal for that. Um, Yeah, yeah. Most creatures in real life are not really notable. You get like the number of domesticated species is really really small compared to the number of species out there, and it takes a lot of work to get something. I we don't need to go into it, but there's the old crappy version of corn, the old crappy version of all the brassicas. A lot of magical creatures would be that. So I don't feel. I do think it's an area where Worth the Candle is slightly weak on world building because it would have made my life so much harder for writing it. Uh, but I'm fine with that. It's one of those things that like to change now would just be like a year's worth of work. Which is one of the reasons Worth the Candle is not getting a bunch of additional work done on it. Is it's so hard to change any given thing because it's so freaking long. Um, and like doing the exclusion stock, I'm just trying to not step on toes too much. Expurgators? Was that the suggested one? Oh. Man, I live in the suburbs and I like it. I live in the suburbs of a very small city. But um, my least favorite thing is just how often you will be sitting there and hearing a lawnmower. I absolutely detest lawns. I think it's just like the biggest waste of like biodiversity and water and energy and time, and there's just like constant lawnmowers running and they're so noisy and I can't have my window open. All right, complaining done. Check that off my list. Um, I don't think I need that. Yeah. No, we never use the front. I have a 6-year-old son that's like the age to go play in lawn. We don't use the lawn. Like you can go to a park if you really need to. Um, my wife's been talking about you can do like wildflower like spreads and just have wildflowers and other shorter species growing that won't run afoul of local ordinances on lawn length, and you can just do that and not have the stupid grass that needs to be stupid mowed every 2 weeks or a week in the summer. Mostly I hate hearing lawnmowers like running just what seems like constantly. um, all right, I gotta focus on this. I can tell that my focus is not on the writing, which is probably because it's a nice day out. Above a certain threshold, it was guaranteed that someone would learn expurgation and use it against the... Okay. Yeah, backlawn's good. Like, I'm glad we have a place we can move around in and stuff, and that we like have a fire pit. I think that redaction is going to be just like okay. So my idea here is that this is mostly just a well-meaning guy, a well-meaning like progressive. Not to dip too much into politics, but there's something that's like, when have progressives ever been on the wrong side of history? And in the 1920s, there's a lot of examples of that, of people who were progressives who wanted all these reforms and stuff like that like collapsed and failed. Prohibition is one of the big ones. Eugenics. There's a lot of stuff that people were like, oh, like we are expanding as a human race. We're attaining our true form, and they tried to do all this stuff that ended up being seen as like major either public policy or political failures. The part of the idea here is that this is that like 1920s spirit of progressivism where you are trying to eliminate scourges from the world, and you just like you go too far, you do the wrong thing or whatever. Like there's a bit in, it must be Metropolitan Man, right? That talks about specifically about prohibition and this idea to put poison in alcohol so that people wouldn't drink it for industrial alcohol. And they put this poison in alcohol, and the government ended up killing, like, I don't know, it was like 10,000 people just died because they would drink this poisoned alcohol, and they either didn't know about it or they were alcoholics and they just like needed to drink anyway. That is the feel I'm going for here. I need to check my world building doc and okay, cycle of withdrawal led to the Imperial Remnants period of 48 FE. Part of the idea. Okay, so this is after Imperial Remnants or during Imperial Remnants. Okay. Maybe someone tried to redact something essential to Arthur's quest, and the DM got pissed off. I mean, that's a fine idea, but like, redaction magic affects books too. Yes. Like, in theory, it affects absolutely everything. So like the here, Embarking on a quest. Okay. Propagating. Okay. Manage. We'll call this few ways because there's like mundane ways, but there's um, 1 hour 16. Okay, I will try to finish this. I like to finish 2 in a sitting. That makes me feel like I've made good progress. And then I just need to do this 40 days. 40 days of writing. This document 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs so far. Is this another looks normal, but will kill you if you step in it zone? You know, I like the idea that it doesn't look normal, but within the bounds of the magic as I conceive it, probably yes. It is probably another of those. Like the mechanism by which it kills you is at least somewhat interesting, but I will think about this. I mean, the problem is there need to be a number of those. Like there's 80 exclusion zones, and a lot of them are not going to have like roving monsters or like hurricane winds or whatever. But I do think that's I do want to set up exclusion zones so that they are interesting places to visit, rather than 200 EZs. No, they're it's given in the work. Okay, this is okay. Anyway, the answer is in the work. It's one of the things that I need to have it. Need to have the exclusion stock list match what's listed for minor and major exclusion zones, but there are numbers somewhere. If I follow the exclusions list, ideally all the numbers will match up, but I do need to double check it. Probably coming up soon because I think past. I said at 10 I was going to reread the whole thing and then see what my thoughts are on it. Yeah, 53 exclusion zones with conservative count. But yes, they're major and minor, and also the exclusions. This exclusion stock includes a few that are not included in there, including ones that have been like formally closed. Any examples of which sexual ideas he finds immoral? It's like the usual. So I'm not going to put anything in here, but like sodomy was not legalized. Like, you couldn't have oral sex in my state until like 2003. It's that kind of thing. Part of that is backwards laws on the books. Part of that is that the laws like that were largely used to used selectively or through entrapment or whatever. But yeah, Ilio gives 62. Amaryllis gives 53. There are a number of counts that all are going to be, uh, in theory, reconciled by this doc. Like, that was one of the things that I spent time on when I was making the spreadsheet, was trying to figure out how all those numbers lined up in terms of which is what, and like what gets included in the conservative count, what gets included in the non-conservative count, and stuff like that. Like 62 is a high count. 80 is a very high count because it includes things that are resolved, and it also includes a few that aren't like publicly known. I don't stress about the exact number. Yeah, but I would like for the numbers to more or less line up. That you could in theory sit down and figure out what approach gets you to 53, what approach gets you to 62, and stuff like that. As the very ideas that had been there will be stuff like the illusion zones in there. I actually think Bostrovina is the illusion magic and is on there. And ice magic is on there. So if I do the full 80, it'll be everything. Which is how the count gets beyond. One of the ways that the count gets beyond Elio's, what is that, 62? New info in the Skin Magic Easy. No. It'll just be old stuff. I mean, it's all, in theory, it's all in the book already, because that's like one of the ones that shows up there. Like, everything that's in blue on this list is stuff that right, yeah, that's where I'm going with this, is that so sorry, I just need to finish a first thought first. Anything that's in blue is in the story and probably has been described in greater detail than will be in the doc. It'll just be, the doc will Well, not all of them, because like rove is like a paragraph, I think. Um, but so a lot of those in theory are easier because I already the ideas have already been expressed in the doc. They just need to be in more Wikipedia or documentary style. All right. Second, bacon time. If he has conviction that he should remove the ideas of the worst sexual acts, but forget what those acts were, he might start redacting less and less extreme ideas. Yeah, that's where I'm going with it, which I don't think is. I guess I think it's interesting, but I also think it's very expected. It's like it's the kind of thing that if I asked our robot Quill, I say our robot, but I didn't program him, and he's not using my keys, so. Uh, um, it's the kind of thing I would expect Quill to come up with. There's also a risk with the exclusion zones that uh, okay, caveman science fiction. I'm going to show this now because I don't want every exclusion zone to be like this. I was thinking about this the other day. Um, yeah. Oh yeah, if you're thinking of the Super account, that probably is from Juniper Soul because Juniper Soul has a lot included there, but a lot of it is game mechanical stuff or the or stuff that is not like a formal exclusion zone that like in theory is excluded somewhere if there's an actual zone for every single thing, uh, which there isn't necessarily. I think that was one of those unanswered questions that I just like did not care about at all. Um, he was aware that the magic was likely working. Oh yeah, the speed run. Yeah, I definitely need. I like have not done any work on that in a long time. I think I added like 5 paragraphs to it a month ago, and then I was like, man, this is very slow to write because it's supposed to be idea dense. Uh, I don't think I'm gonna do that one on stream once this is over, but there's a chance. Like there are ways, but like part of there are ways that you could do this that are smarter. But psychologically, part of it is also purging yourself of, right, like if you are a true believer, you don't want to be like, I mean, okay, mostly if you're a true believer, you wouldn't want to force your things on other people, and then like for yourself, like those ideas are fine, right? But yeah, if you were like a rationalist who was operating optimally, he could have, in theory, uh, found ways around it. Were the redactions reversed when exclusion occurred? I will get to that. That's going to be another paragraph. Um, do this a little bit earlier. 74. That means 10 years from when he started. 11 years from when he started. They're like people start to notice that things have gone wrong. Like there's a, in theory, a decay built into it, so it's not like it lasts forever. But in a large enough population, if it keeps spreading, then it's like self-sustaining redaction on a scale that, in theory, would be possible before, but had not occurred, partly because of more cloistered um, societies. Like this is post. This is like a remnant Remnant Nations era or whatever it's called, uh, when there's like actual international travel to an extent that had not been present before Uther, which allows further spread of this antimimetic disease. Okay. Oh, okay. Just laying some ideas out there. The not atheistic. That's not what I want. Ascetic? No. Fine, fine. Word for a monk who denies. Okay. I feel like I was close. That wasn't that close. Yeah. I feel like I was close enough that Google should have got it. Okay. This is not... I'm thinking of Pleasantville. I guess if Suburbicon is a thing, I've never heard of, but Pleasantville is what I think of when I think of a place where you're like not allowed to swear or have impure thoughts or whatever. From the Imperial Remnants period. Um, and what do we call this? We call this the R easy. No, the B easy. Duh. Be easy. That can go into features. Did only affect human procreation? Yes. You know, I was thinking about that. Is he human? Um, is he human? I think that he's human, and that's fine. They're okay. The next like major person in one of these needs to not be human because I think there's been too many humans. I mean, humans are majority population, but can't forget it's fantasy. There need to be like other races. I also don't want to introduce a race within the redaction exclusion thing. I think that's a bit much because it would like need to be explained for the reader, but in theory, the person reading this document wouldn't know, or would already know. So. Part of the reason that he's human is because he is a reformer following in Uther's footsteps. To me, that's like a guy thinking that he's the next Uther. Makes more sense, but you can make him dwarf, yeah. I'm going to finish this, and then I will look into possibly changing his race. But You can make him a dwarf. You can make him an elf. I think that changes the texture of what he's doing. Also, sex for dwarves is much different than for humans. But like this entry is not going to get into sex stuff. It's going to be mostly left to your imagination. Um, There aren't going to be any intelligent species that got excluded. No, there is. There is one. I'm gonna find it real quick. I am definitely getting towards the end of my writing time because I can feel myself losing my ability to think clearly. But I swear there is one that. Is it breeding? Oh, yeah. Isolationist or species. That is excluded. So there's at least one. I don't think I'm including the proto exclusion in the doc, but their species isn't excluded. The thing that their species used a lot of and depended on got excluded, and so they all died. But the species itself wasn't excluded. Okay. Put a to-do there. I should finish one section before moving on to the next. Animal reservoirs. This is an idea I'm like super happy with. That this is like because like what makes it last? The idea that there's like an animal reservoir. I don't know. This is one of those things that uh, is why I like writing, because you get to come up with this stuff, and it feels like you've had a revelation. I don't know. I just wanted to point that out because that's no, you forget a lot of stuff. I will. I need to alter this slightly to describe that. So I actually think that nature should be one of the last things I write, because you get ideas as you go. Um, yeah, most mortals will not be fit. I guess I'm gonna keep that. No, I'm gonna. And after 3 days within the zone, yeah, that is better for it. It's better for it to be a zone that doesn't kill you, that just makes you like a person without ideas. Could someone with Elon Guard training be fine? No. Elon Guard mostly is about your ability to handle your emotions rather than your ability to handle your ideas. Um, this is gonna be like a Second Empire innovation. God, I lean so hard on this timeline. Okay, Second Empire collapses. Wait, Second Empire is founded? Okay, yeah, the Second Empire. Um, I mean, it can you're controlling your physiological states and stuff. I think that these like Baldler protocols, um, yeah, these are just they're just working on different levels. This is a anti-mimetic thing. While Bowdlers redaction of food-related topics appears to have $1025. Yeah, thanks. Hopefully these are. I don't think that these are the most wildly entertaining streams, but you do get some peek at how these things are written, and I will try to point out stuff that I find cool or interesting about the process of writing and how we come up with this. So like here are two in quick succession, two things that I like. I like the animal reservoirs thing. I think that is much more interesting because it has these implications. It has these like levers that you can now pull. If you say, oh, like there's not just magic suffusing the zone, it's in animal reservoirs. All these animals have this redaction magic within them and spread it as though they were people, even though they themselves are unaffected by it. So that means that if you could just kill all the animals in the zone, potentially the redaction magic would stop propagating itself, right? Or if you could kill all animals when they're far enough away, you could stave off the effects of Bowdler magic and stuff like that. And that sets you up for adventure and things like that. The same with these Bowdler protocols give you, like, it's a little lever to work on things. Yes, as long as a squirrel doesn't get close to you, you can remember how to eat. Which is neat. It's like, that's the kind of thing that I am here for the exclusions document for. Also, I'm capitalizing last redaction because it just sounds so cool. What if insects can spread it? I'm going to say not, because it's more interesting that way, and their brains are more similar to mortal brains. But again, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, does this magic apply in the same way to all like 200 some mortal species? I like the idea that oh, um, that there are like some species that are just totally unaffected by certain exclusions, and it's classed as a major exclusion, but there's like a little asterisk there because it's like, oh hey, if you're like one of this species, then you're totally fine. Like you're totally unaffected, and you can just like have a little colony there that other people can't get to. But I don't think this is going to be one of those. I think it affects the mind, and all minds for mortal species are supposed to be on the same like they're on the same interface, the same like magical interface. Like something that works on the mind should work on all minds because that's the way magic is. You can leave. I mean, the animals go outside the zone, but then they're not. The magic doesn't work outside the zone. That's what the exclusion is. Okay, I think this is done. I need to just decide. Sorry, I got a cat on me that needs his pets. I just need to decide what to do next time. I think it's going to be Whiffle and something else. So I'm going to pet this cat a little bit and think about what I want to do next. I was going to do groove casting. I think it's going to be Whiffle and groove casting. That will be on Saturday, which is usually a writing day for me. But starting around maybe 10 or 11 my time, which is some other time UTC. Okay, so I'm going to put that stuff in there and make sure I don't have any to-dos or anything like that. I like this better than I liked it when I started, which is always a good sign. Get my line breaks. Okay. And we're going to do Whiffle first. And groove casting second. Oh, Anonymous. Thank you so much for the tier 1 subs. That's so many. All right. But yeah, that's the stream for today. I will be here again this time tomorrow. There might also be a stream of Last Call BBS tonight, which would be 10 hours from now. But we'll see how I feel about that. I had a lot of fun with there's like a Flesh game, Flesh and mechanics game. So, yeah, see you next time. Thanks again for the subs, and I will see you guys later.